Foreign Affairs Council, and I hope it will be the last. If nothing happens, it will be the last. And we have in the agenda important issues. The political landscape has changed a lot in the last 5 years. When I came here 5 years ago, we were talking mainly about Sahel, about Libya, about Bolivia. Now you know the issue is the war in Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East. These two items will be very high in the agenda today. Mainly because Putin answered to any attempt to talk, to negotiate by launching the heaviest attack against civilian infrastructure, in particular electricity infrastructure. It has been the heaviest attack in months, using a high number of drones and attacking the connection of the civilian infrastructure, in particular electricity. So it doesn't look like he is willing to negotiate. By the contrary. At the beginning, when Mandete said we have to learn to use the language of power, remember? Well, that is today even more true than 5 years ago. But in order to use the language of power, in order to show that you have power, you have to be united. If you are not united, you cannot show power. And too many times we haven't been united. Too many times discussion took too long. You cannot pretend to be a geopolitical power if you are taking days and weeks and months to reach agreements in order to act. So my last call to my colleagues will be more united, take decisions quicker, the events don't wait for you. Russia is not stopping the war because you are thinking about it. Every time we took decisions in order to support Ukraine, it took too long. Every time it was a hesitation, should we do, should we not do? The war continues raging. Ukrainian people need more support. We have to provide this support, stop discussing and start acting quicker. I am sorry that maybe I will not be able to make my last proposal about the European Peace Facility, but I still have a hope. Then the situation in the Middle East is, there is no more words. I exhausted the words to explain what's happening in the Middle East. The Secretary General, the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations for Humanitarian Affairs told very clearly a couple of days ago. It's about 44,000 people killed in Gaza. It's the whole area is being destroyed. 70% of the people being killed in Gaza, 70% are women or children. And if you have a look at the ages, the most frequent ages of casualties, the most frequent ages are children below 9 years old. Children below 9 years old are the most frequent casualty caused by this war. I will present to the colleagues a proposal in order to study which are the decisions that could be taken for the compliance with the Association Council from the point of view of human rights, and also which measures can be taken in order to be sure that we fulfill all commitments in order not to trade with the products produced on occupied territories according with the rules of the International Court of Justice. We will discuss about it. We'll discuss about the situation created by the elections in the U.S. We are facing a completely different political landscape, and the Europeans have to be ready to act without waiting to react to the U.S. decisions. But this is the dense and intense agenda of this last Foreign Affairs Council meeting.
Mr. Hirab, what should we expect about Georgia?
Big elections
Georgia.
in Georgia. People of Georgia are still in the
Yes,
streets and they are
yes,
demanding international
yes.
investigation.
Yes.
A point snap election. Is that realistic, and what would be EU decision toward this issue?
No, I didn't mention Georgia because it's evident that Georgia is something today everybody will be discussing about Georgia. There are concrete decisions to be taken. I propose to stop supporting an important part of the programs that goes to the government. More than 100 million euros will be frozen, and instead of being allocated to the government, will be allocated to the civil society organizations. So we'll take this money, about 100 millions, and give the money to civil society organizations in order to support them in their fight for fair elections. The people of Georgia will be continuing supported by the European Union. The process of adhesion is being put on hold, is stopped, until the Georgia government goes back to the track. And to go back to the track, a lot of things has to change. And in the meantime, we will use the money that was allocated to the government for the people who are fighting for their freedom.
On Ukraine, one question on Ukraine.
International investigation, is that possible?
About the investigation, is it possible to have some international investigation? And also, so this will be one additional measure today recommended from you, and that's all, or maybe something else?
Certainly will have to be investigations. What has happened has to be fully assessed. You cannot say that the elections were not free and fair and not investigate one. We started since the beginning asking to the government to clarify everything related with the complaint of the people. So obviously has to be an investigation, and obviously has to be accountability.
After the
On Ukraine,
international, do you think the U.S. And the European Union policy will be changed, or will be stay like before?
I don't have a crystal ball. We'll discuss about it.
Mr. Hirab, on Ukraine.
Middle East.
Over the last few months, there's been a momentum towards peace deal both in Gaza and Lebanon. At the EU Council, during the last meetings, you said you are determined to see peace prevail there now. The chances for a peace in Gaza, do you see that, or is it more distant than before?
Many people try to stop the war in Gaza. The U.S. has put a lot of pressure. Many of my colleagues travel a lot to the Middle East, putting pressure to release the hostages and to stop the war. This has not happened yet, and I don't see a hope for this to happen.
Mr. Hirab.
That's why we have to put pressure on the Israeli government. Also, obviously, on Hamas side. Both sides have to be put under pressure. And that's why there is concrete proposals today in the table. Concrete proposals in order to see if what's happening in Gaza is in accordance with international law. This is the most important endeavor. Can you let me talk, please?
Yes. One additional question. This decision was vocal in early days to suspension of
I
financial
already asked this question.
Can you say on Ukraine, how can you be optimistic regarding what's happening now in the US and Trump's plan and what's happening also in Europe?
Well, the only thing I know is that we have to continue supporting Ukraine as much as we can and quicker as we can. I traveled to Ukraine. I spent 3 days there visiting people, visiting the army, visiting civil society, the factories of drones, the factories of everything that Ukrainians need to defend. I don't see any difference from today and yesterday. Ukraine needs our support, and we have to continue providing this support. Nothing has changed from our point of view. There is a war. Ukraine is defending itself. Russia continues attacking, and we have to continue supporting Ukraine to defend.
On Ukraine as well.
And that's all. That's the only answer. that seriously we can't provide today to the Ukrainians.
Maybe you have information. Did Ukraine get permission to hit targets on Russian territory with long-distance weapons? Maybe it's not up to you, but maybe you have.
You know my position. I've been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcas. I continue believing this is what has to be done. I'm sure it will be discussed once again. I hope member states will agree on that, and if not, anyone will do whatever they believe is according with the need to support Ukraine.
How do you see the phone call of German Chancellor Olaf Scholz with Vladimir Putin? Was it a good idea to do it?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't know. I don't know what Chancellor Scholz talked with President Putin. I am sure that this is in the framework of continue supporting Ukraine. This is my job, to continue supporting Ukraine. Nothing else than that. Whatever talks with whoever, I don't mind. I don't care. My job is to make the Foreign Affairs Council following the lines that we decided and the European Council has decided to support Ukraine in order to make the Ukrainians able to resist.
Would you talk to Vladimir Putin?
Me? I don't think so.
Minister, Mr. Borrell, about the coalition for two-state solutions, you will have another meeting. What do you think linking this coalition with the pressure to implement the humanitarian law? Is there a link between these two stuff?
Well, the coalition is in order to build a two-state solution, to build a Palestinian state. The coalition of the will is to make people to work together in order to make possible the Palestinian state have a chance to happen. And this will not come because we preach. It's not come because we ask for it. It's because we act. There was a meeting in Riyadh. There will be another meeting in Brussels on the last day of my term. And until the last day of my term, I will continue pushing for member states to support the Palestinian state in practical matter, not just to say, oh, we support the Palestinian state, but engage practically in order to make it possible.
Mr. Borrell, one question. What do you think of the peace plan from the former Israeli Prime Minister and former Palestinian Foreign Minister?
We were discussing yesterday night about it. Look, every time that a Palestinian and an Israeli work together in order to look for a peace, that's a good news. Every time that someone from one side meets with someone from the other side, overcoming the lack of empathy and trying to make peace a reality, that's a very good news.
Do you think they're working on a realistic plan?
Well, they look realistic. What does it mean to be realistic at these tragic moments? I think it's a matter of will and a matter of putting on the table things that can be discussed and the international community can support. I appreciate this kind of initiative. I know there is not the only one. We have our own initiative. But we spent yesterday night an interesting dinner with some ministers. And I think that we have to support everybody that has the goodwill of looking for peace, talking with each side. Thank you.